Hello, this is going to be a follow-up video to the ones that I've been making recently as a response to that guy with his moonrise and full moon videos that he's been making that ultimately got him to take his channel down. And I'm looking specifically at his last example, Chicago, December 11th, which is the full moon. And the fallout to that is that there doesn't seem to be a very solid understanding of how the moon revolves around the earth and how the moon phase is calculated and so on and so forth. And so I set out initially to create an animation specifically to show him or somebody like him who doesn't understand the angle of the moon relative to the earth and the sun and its percent illumination. So that's how I started off. I also did a very quick look on the internet to see if there was any animation that could show what I wanted to represent. And I couldn't find anything, although I must stress that I didn't look too hard. And in the process of creating the initial animation, last Sunday I was just about to put out a video. I even recorded it related to what I think might be a problem with timeanddate.com. From my calculations, it looks like they are calculating local clock time without factoring in local solar noon. So as we know, the Earth rotates around the sun, and as the Earth is also in an elliptical orbit, and as the Earth speeds up around the sun, it shifts the time forward, and as it slows down and comes back around the other side, it slows down, and the local noon shifts later and later in the day. So as a result, local solar noon is not always the same time. When I was calculating the illumination and comparing it with the illumination from timeanddate.com, I noticed that there were some slight discrepancies. That's what I was prepared to release last Sunday, but then I found a small little problem and I decided I was going to try to address that before moving forward, and then feature creep set in, and now I've got a much more elaborate animation. So let me just show you what I've got. If you think of this as a Cartesian coordinate system, so noon to 6 p.m. is in the upper right quadrant, 6 p.m. to midnight is upper left, and so on and so forth, then 0 degrees should always represent local solar noon. As a result, this sign here represents local solar noon, and 12 p.m. should move up and down throughout the year. I've got a slight little bug in my animation that shows this is midnight when in fact it should be accounted for local solar noon. So in fact on December 1st it should be closer to 11:39 p.m. I also included the distance from the Earth to the Moon for that day, moon rise and moon set for that day. The sun should be visible from that time to that time. The location is Chicago. The drift is the number of degrees per hour that the moon changes position in the sky relative to all of the celestial objects. The Earth rotates west to east at 15 degrees per hour. The moon rotates from west to east at around 14.5 degrees. So the moon is actually lagging the Earth by about a half a degree per hour. The moon phase, the moon angle is calculated in this animation relative to the sun. So from the center of the sun to the axis of the Earth's rotation should represent the 0 degree line. And then from that point, the angle of the moon relative to the Earth, if you look at it from top down, would represent a particular angle like this, which should in this case be 56.177 degrees. The sun is always coming from the east to the west, so the right side is always illuminated and the left is always dark. And the moon phase is calculated by this angle. And up here at the upper left is how the moon should appear to the observer as it passes their local meridian. I added a few pins. The yellow stem pins are the sun. I chose yellow because that's what we generally associate with the sun. The black pins I used for the moon. And the black heads are the transition from day to night. And the white is moonrise and the yellow is sunrise. So I'll play a few minutes of this to give you an idea. But I think what I'll do is I'll create a separate video that just has this as an animation without me talking at all for the entire month. It's 12 and a half minutes long. I should also point out that this little dot here is the observer, your local meridian, and the line away from the Earth is the plumb line. So this is basically looking straight up away from the center of the Earth. The other line represents your horizon, which is the tangent line to the observer, being perpendicular to your plumb line. You'll also notice that I animate the moon for the entire duration, so the moon is moving constantly as well as the Earth. But the rise and set pins only change once a day. The sunrise and the sunset pin and the local 12 p.m. marker change at midnight. The moonrise and the moonset change when the moon crosses your local meridian. And you can also see all of these numbers change as well. The distance to the moon changes at midnight, as do the sun visible and moonrise, moonset times. The drift is calculated daily as well, but the moon angle and the moon phase are constantly calculated, and this is your local time. Okay, I kind of messed that last one up. Let's try this again. Sunrise. Local 12 p.m. moonrise, sunset, high moon, moonset, etc. So if I had this animation and if I was trying to respond to that guy, all I would have to do is just scrub ahead to the 11th because he was saying that this was not possible on a globe Earth because the moonrise was at 4:10 p.m. and there are videos out there that basically explain his logic. But you can see that this white pin is the moonrise at 4:10 p.m. And this black pin with the yellow stem is sunset, which is 4:19 p.m. So there's 9 minutes where the sun is still visible. So as you go like this here, you get moonrise, sunset. And then you can also see that as it approaches to this side here, in my animation, it doesn't quite reach 180 degrees because this has been factored in my animation. It hasn't been factored in over here. This may be just a convention, and I might be going against that convention. I don't know. If anybody has an explanation, go ahead and leave it as a comment, but I'll just continue the animation. So here we can see moonrise, sunset. And then as we get closer to, whoops, I have to pause this because it just kind of stuttered a little bit. So right about here, the moon angle according to this line, which is relative to the other thing I just want to point out, it may still be a problem with my animation. This is getting closer to midnight, uh, and it's still 176 degrees, but it's 99.89. And if we go all the way to 100%, right there, it just flashed over. So I was actually ahead by about 6 hours. So technically, for me, Chicago should have had the full moon at 100.0% just before the moon set because of this local solar noon not being the same as 12 p.m. Anyway, I just wanted to show you what I had so far, and please leave comments below. Don't forget to feed the YouTube algorithm troll. I do plan to put this video out, plus the other one that is just this animation. And after that, I may need to take a break for a week or so, but I'll be back to making a video soon enough. So, bye for now.